Yeah, so you have your, the school has your own selection too.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
Oh, you got it. You got it. See, it's kind of camouflage, isn't it? A little bit. It's really good. That's a busy start.
Do you get it?
Temporary. Okay, let's go look at television.
Looking television.
Social implications of this. It's pretty good. It's pretty easy to do with critical thinking.
Professional.
This to the critique.
This part.
Is he fine?
Good.
So that's a good. What is good? The question is, how do you measure? Like what criteria do you use?
What's up good? Yeah.
Do you mean like a physical heart, or do you have to like some kind of metaphysical heart?
That heart right there. In the heart.
In the heart is the answer. Ryan. Pretty cool variety. Like in this one here, he uses these, like it's kind of unique. They're like really unorganized, like a lot of them are very organized, the little hatch marks and everything are very organized. That's really different, I think it feels like very, almost violent or. There's a little bit at the top, so I can sing, that's what's really. That's a pretty impressive look at perspective is really cool. Like looking down at the plane and the hot air balloons and the clouds and stacks up there. You see like out here, then you see like the sky.
Strategy, right? They don't promote.
I don't know, the perspective is so kind of like it.
And they have to say that the fee is pretty affordable.
Yes, and that was that's actually one of the operations kind of. I don't know what that is either. Well, parrot with light. Oh, perch.
Because that's important, because sometimes that's just like for students, you know, that don't have that.
Yeah, and we try to heavily promote it to universities for local students as a
This one we played ice fire. It's just
another thing.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, I actually.
Yeah, I just got it, yeah.
We're a little behind.
Yeah, man, it's a great one.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
Because first of all, storage would be pretty easy.
You're always thinking with that, like,
Wait, this is when you have no storage? That's a big.
No, I totally agree with you.
Just roll it up on a bar or something.
Roll it on a little tube or something. No, I think you're right on in the presentation. That's pretty decent, right? And it's like pretty durable, so you can't do like bend the corner or anything.
Sorry, Alex, I'm right in your way.
See, what's going on here? Is this like, is this a tragedy happening or is this like flat off?
This is what I use during presentation.
It's just the highlight.
Just like because the sun is kind of interesting. I don't know, like, it's a very interesting picture because some things, see this right here? Has kind of like a shadow. This post has a shadow. But then other things, I don't know, they don't really have shadows.
I honestly, I never, when I'm looking at faces, I never look to see the light source as just
Unless it's like right.
yeah. Unless it's like yeah.
Look at this, can I see?
I don't know. Have you ever had? You guys should keep a running tally of how many people during that actually start crying. I feel like that should be a running tally. But you guys all know these kind of.
I'll show you. We got 10 minutes till I need to talk a little bit more.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Memorable, still scars.
I remember somebody said something, but I can't remember the exact.
Barbie, when looking at my book, was like, the more I look at it, the more it's an eyesore. And I was just like, oh, wow. I should have been meaner during my critique.
Exactly, like, can we go back? It's like, I had one thing I wanted to say about Barbie. I just thought of it.
It's quite nice.
It was not a bad book.
That's pretty funny. Which book was it?
It was my abstracts book with the little book on the front of it.
Colors are too bright.
The more I look at it.
That's to show.
We looked at you. Where does the line? I remember went to your office after or something. It was like, Ryan should probably look at eyesore.
Does that all like this? I'm drawing to the size.
I remember Dan was there, and I remember taking Doug's face, getting close to being back to see my.
You know, that's the biggest one.
I see my lights, but I remember being like,
Those two and those two. And I know that one already got that for sure.
Yeah, but this is like, at times it's like Alex, that's just.
I almost drawn that one. Who was meaner than me. And I don't know if that's.
I don't know. That's a little crazy. I don't know about that.
Did you ever take video one?
No, I didn't have to.
I still did it.
Because you were
Arts administration, so I had even less, but it would make for a really interesting skill set for art, though, because it is a form of art.
They teach you some foundational stuff, but after that, it's up to you.
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to. The sad part is not many people do much after that. It's like,
Huh.
come on, man.
Right?
Appreciate the books. Like, Josh brings you over there.
My favorite that I saw that was this.
But I'm learning through doing these packages, so.
That's good.
It was really terrible. Like honestly, like I
Oh man, you guys are writing this down right now. This is the
if in the future someone tries something,
It's so fun to see the variety.
I would say
I love it. I'm interested in these kind of shades. It's kind of, it's making Middleton. It's really
like I
Yeah, so, I mean, the print quality of those things is like, I mean, it's very hard to control.
Oh, yeah.
But now that I see it, it's like, yeah, I was like, I need to do something. Always do it back. Yeah, so this was pretty much the thing, right, for arrival. But I wanted to make, because I love isometric perspective. It's super interesting to me. But I wanted to somehow make something that resembles like Caracas, where I grew up and also Seattle. So this right here is basically Caracas. Like, you know, you have those towers right there, the subway, pretty much like that. The cable car that goes all the way to the top of the mountain. You know, and then it does a transition to like some parts of Seattle. But I took a lot of liberties with it. But I just wanted to like somehow make the two words like come together into one. And I love the idea that there is a lot of things that are arriving, right? You have the boats arriving, you have the airplane arriving, the birds arriving, this guy waiting for the bus to arrive. So it's kind of like things are going to a place. Yeah.
There's some questions about this place.
You have some questions?
No. Is that an animal, or we didn't know? Or is that a hole in the building, or is that a?
Yeah, so that one, you need to see it like this, because if you go like that, you will see that it's the silhouette of some person just walking down.
Oh, yeah, kind of, and.
Yeah, like this, yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
got it, okay, so a person going that way on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that happens really wonderfully, I think, right here, where they're walking and then it turns into a wall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but that one
Okay, got
is
it.
already, yeah. Yeah, that's why if you see like the stairs right here are going down, like into the, but that's something that definitely I should have like do a little bit more intentional. So yeah, but that's what it is. And it's right in the middle, right? So you kind of miss it. But yeah. So yeah, you have the taco trucks, you know.
Now, how does something like this happen? This is like a little, something that was like a fleck of wood or something that's on that raises up when you're printing the kind of, or what would that be?
Yeah, so I think that will happen there because we're using a steamroller that was rented from construction, and they use it for asphalt. So sometimes there is like these pieces of asphalt in the roller. So sometimes they fall into the block, and that basically like created an extra relief there.
It's a nice little surprise. It landed really in a nice spot.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that on purpose. Yeah, happy
You could have
accident.
told a different story. Yeah, this is a special
Yeah, you know that he's doing that. Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Glowing.
Yeah, so another thing too, like if you see the city itself is missing a piece of the puzzle, and they're bringing it here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I really enjoy like pieces like that. They have a lot of stuff going on that every time that you come, you get to see something new. So I was trying to do that for this. Like, oh, this kind of food has many little things.
There's no like little treats.
Exactly, yeah. So there are like little rewards when you come back and see it again. And you say, oh, that is that one thing there.
There was some conversation about this being a snake that goes through that, or what is this?
Yeah, so this one, I don't know how do you call it in English? Yeah, the cable cars, yeah. So in 2007, President Chavez developed this cable car that goes into the slums. So people just spend because it's in the mountains, right? So they didn't have access. They needed to just go to these jeeps to go all the way there, or walking. So they would take like hours to go all the way to the top. So now you can just take the cable car like for free and go all the way to the top of the mountain and walk around. So that's like right in front of where I was living. So I wanted to do that. And sorry, what? Oh, sorry. So yeah, so that's basically what's happening right there. There is always, you know, like the basketball courts and all these little things. And I usually do these balloons. I don't know why I really like them. You're always gonna see balloons and fish in my work, and I don't know why. I just like it. My mom always makes fun of that. Where is it? Yeah, where is the fish? So yeah.
So I'll talk to people that are online really quick. We kind of started our artist talk impromptu, but that's cool because we can go around and we can ask questions about the work. And exhibition we're looking at right now is Reinaldo Zambrano. He's here with us from Spokane, Washington, originally from Venezuela, Caracas. And it's a real treat to have him in the gallery, to be able to talk about his work, his prints. And I think I want to go right into like with how you're carving these and the different marks that you use and the different tools that you're using for the carving. When you start out, you know exactly kind of like which graver you're going to use or which tool you're going to use to create the marks. You've obviously gained experience over time with what can do, but like the hatching and cross hatching for how do you approach that with your?
Yeah, so what I do basically is I just go ahead and draw whatever I want to draw into the piece, and once that is pretty much solved, I then worry about the carving. I don't really like draw something I'm thinking that I'm gonna carve it later. I just like draw. And then what I notice is I just need two tools. I just have a B gouge and a U gouge, and that's basically what I use for the whole thing. And it's just a matter of using a sense of directional line and just like moving around and changing the direction of the tool in order to create different visual textures. But the directional line here is something that I always keep in mind because it just helps you out to somehow render the dimension and the volume of the piece. So, and I feel that that's really important if you want to create this sense of mass, right? So yeah, if you see right here, like the cuts are like a little bit more like choppy in order to create kind of like a sense of grass. But then like right here, like a little bit more cleaner in order to make it look like just a floor. But yeah, I just limit to two tiny little tools that I have been using today. And it's just a matter of like drawing, trusting the drawing, and then just having fun and getting immersed into this and listen to good podcasts and just carve. It's fun. I mean, it's just like really fun, and it's great to see that every time that you make a mark, like somehow the whole thing is taking a life and is revealing by itself, and that makes you really excited once it's done. But yeah, so this piece, I draw the whole thing without even using a ruler. I just basically like stand in front of it with the pencil and just like draw. And then I did the whole thing with Sharpie, and then I just apply India ink on top to somehow like get it all dark, and then I just started carving with it. So this one I just had it like in front of me all the time, and then I put it down on the table in order to like lay down on it to try to reach into certain areas of it. But the whole thing took me 2 weeks in total because I had a deadline.
So there's no preparatory drawings, like you're just drawing right onto the board and then you just go from that. And when you put the India ink on over the Sharpie, you can see the difference between where the Sharpie is and the India ink is because there's a sheen or color shift or something like that?
Yeah, so I make a mix that I actually learned from Martin Masora from one of the books that I had. And he basically takes India ink and mixes it with a little bit of water and puts a little bit of dish soap into it. And then I just spread that, and instead of being like super black, it's gonna be kind of like a dark gray. But the Sharpie just stays there, so you know exactly where you're going. But it's great because you carve it and it seems dark, and it seems black, so it resembles really to what the final product is going to be. So
Lets you visualize.
exactly allows you to see like, okay, this is where I'm doing.
And this was done, I'm sorry, but this was done for the arrival at the bottom, at the arrival, and that was done for like some kind of event, or it was a theme for something, or how did you get to that? Why does it say that at the bottom?
Yeah, so this is arrival. In Spanish it will be arrival. So that was the main topic for the third annual ink rally, which was the steamroller project that we're doing for the lane. Yeah. So I play with that concept of the idea of arriving. So there is so many different elements into the visual narrative that are somehow arriving to one place or another. I don't know if you notice this face right here? Somehow. So I wanted to make that, right, like everything seems kind of small, this like a tiny little world, but then there is somehow a silhouette right there that makes you wonder like, okay, how big is this place? Or so yeah. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of thinking like every head is a world somehow. So I want to just play that sense of perception into the piece too. But yeah, like for example, you have this guy right here with a suit, like a scuba diving suit, but then you have this guy like it's pretty much chilling. And at the beginning, I wanted to somehow like really go into detail with the figures and really render them fully. But then I realized that it would just take away from the city, and I really wanted to focus on the city. That's the main thing. So then the people just became silhouettes, and even the dog became silhouettes. So yeah. This is definitely one of the pieces that I have the most fun, because I didn't really have a preliminary drawing that somehow I wanted to follow. And I wanted to have that challenge of not like, like plan too much. I'm just gonna trust my instinct. I'm just gonna allow it to evolve by itself. And that's basically what happened. Yeah, and it came out pretty okay. But definitely it's something that I would like to explore again, maybe in a larger format, especially the isometric perspective.
If you speak to isometric, so I think most people won't know what that is.
Okay.
So how that's different than our general one-point perspectival kind of setup. Let's talk about isometric.
Yeah, so when we do linear perspective, you have the components, right? You have the horizon line and you have the vanishing points. So the vanishing points are going to be somehow affecting your diagonal lines in order to create this sense that something is appearing to be far away. So that basically makes one part of the elements to appear smaller than the ones that are closer to you. In the case of isometric perspective, every single diagonal line is basically independent, and you have pretty much an angle of 30 degrees in all the diagonal lines, so you can see right there. So at the end, you don't really force the idea of scale, so things don't appear to be far away or closer because of the size. Everything pretty much has the same size. So that allows you to do kind of like the opportunity to pretty much portray like really large, or illustrate really large extended little like worlds or maps without like compromising the size. But at the same time, it allows you to do these amazing impossible shapes and figures that MC Etcher used to do. So you can kind of play with the perception and create that illusion that something appeared to be on the same level as something, but then it becomes the base. So yeah, I'm fascinated with the way that he creates those solutions, and I wanted to try it myself. It's really simple, but it's super powerful. Super powerful how it works. It's a lot of fun. And at the time, my wife was playing this game in her iPhone. Have you seen it? Like, it's based on the Etcher. So it's like a little guy that walks around like a puzzle. Do you know the name?
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, right? Because you turn the map around and somehow like it doesn't work. You need to see it in a specific way. So then I was like, okay, I need to try this thing because it's pretty amazing. So that's how I ended with this thing. So yeah, I just get curious about stuff and try them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you just want to talk about any other?
Anybody, any curiosity about some of the other prints? I know I have some questions about the symbolism used in this one too.
Yeah, the wooden roots.
For you as the artist.
Yeah.
It should focus in on you.
Yeah, so this one right here is called Wooden Roots, and somehow talks a little bit about, when you're growing in your family home, right, with your parents, somehow like some of your perception about the world are very influenced by your parents' opinion. And I feel that was the case in my house and my personal experience. So then when I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16 years old, I got the opportunity to somehow experience things by myself. And then when I moved to the United States and I traveled to Thailand and I continued doing this thing in different communities, I started to experience, but also to kind of like make my own ideas about things. And I realized that I started to somehow, how do you say when you don't agree with someone? You disagree, right? Yeah, thank you. So I started like disagreeing with some of the things that my parents were saying when I was a kid. So there is that idea that in your heart you have this kind of like these rooted feelings, right, and this rooted belief. But then when you are growing and becoming an adult, you start to experience life, and then you start pulling part of those roots out of your pretty much the sense of love that you have for your parents. And in order to somehow grow and create your own identity later on. So that's basically what I was trying to do here. And this is something that, in that moment, I was doing a lot of like drawings based on like taking the face as a mask, which is basically what everybody's just shown to the rest of the world. So I was just treating, this is actually a self-portrait. So you would see like the face as a mask, and then behind, in that inner world that is exposed, it would be some things that were in that moment affecting or influencing that personality that was being developed. So that is right here, for example, this being that has wings in the back that are tattooed. The head is pretty much a dice, which is like kind of like having all this like random thoughts about things and insecurities, but then the same being is basically attached, or is a slave of time right there. You have also, of course, like the heart right there being and the roots being pulled. And then it's basically like, you know, like, have you heard like about the phrase that you are what you eat? So basically whatever I was reading or whatever I was experiencing was somehow influencing that inner world that was happening there. So yeah, so that's what happened there. This piece I did it, and I didn't have a press that was big enough, and I didn't want it to print it with a spoon because I thought that it was going to be too much work. So I hear about this guy called Leo Castanway from Boston, who has an organization called Big Ink. And basically what he does is he travels around the United States with a press that is foldable. It's called the Big Tuna. And he basically prints large blocks for people. So I drove all the way from Moscow to Eugene, Oregon. It was pretty much like 11 hours carrying this block in the back of a rental car, and I have to drive like really close to the wheel because the block was too big. And I drove there, and then he printed for me, and it was amazing because I got to learn so much about inking, inconsistency, and also just pretty much like just seeing someone helping, requiring the help of like 4 or 5 people in order to use this really massive press in order to like get this beautiful prints from the blocks. And this one, believe it or not, he didn't even proof it. He just like run it in one go, and it's like perfect. That was like magic. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm really far behind. So yeah, so that's basically what happened here in this piece. And then during the same time that I was traveling to Eugene, when I came back, 2 weeks later, I went to I actually went to St. Louis to be part of the Tomahawk boot camp. I don't know if you have ever heard about that, the woodcut boot camp. And that's where I did this piece, which was actually the piece that was selected as the best I showed. When was it? 2 years ago? 2019. Yeah, so this was a really good experience for me because if you notice, I was always using MDF, but this one I was using birch plywood. But the fact was that I was being a little bit conservative with the iconography that I was using, and it was taking really long time to make pieces. This one took me like pretty much like 2 months because I was just doubting every mark that I was doing. But this one right here, I was, as I mentioned in my lecture, I was there 10 days in this print shop with 15 artists from around the United States and one guy from Italy that flew all the way just to be there. It was just this hardcore environment, kind of competitive, where we were just like waking up, eating cereal, drinking beer, carving all day long. And it was just amazing. Like I learned so much about like how people like this artist who is renowned, like makes a living as an artist, how he somehow develops the work that he does, and how he deals with like galleries, and how he somehow sustained that dream of being part of the art history through basically just being himself and pushing the dimension in the blogs. So that's where I was really introduced to like pushing the mark making and the directional line as a way to somehow create volume and three-dimensionality into a media that is popular for being flat. So that's where I did this piece right here, which for me is one of my favorite pieces that I ever did. And I feel that I had never accomplished something as good as that. I don't know if I will again. But yeah, I think we talked about that one already during the lecture, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, I think that one's fascinating because of the dichotomy of different locations, different places representing where people come from and what they hold within.
Yeah, I personally, I really like this one too. And I had a friend who is a writer that actually saw the piece, and we did this collaboration where he wrote a story based on my piece, and then I actually illustrated one of his. And we did that thing, and it was great to see that even when I didn't tell the story to him, like he came out with all these different interpretations that were really good. But that's basically just like a representation of my wife and myself, somehow finding these connections when we have such a different like cultural backgrounds. And yeah, and that was a lot of fun. It was pretty challenging to somehow like keep it still looking like people. But at the end, like, yeah, it kind of works. And I have like some of the icons from Venezuela. Like, I will never forget. And like during the afternoons, you will see all these like kites, like flying everywhere, and that's something that I miss so much. And I pretty much did that. And then you have like the national flower of Venezuela, which is the orchid. And then you see you have like a little dog right there, some political posters. Swings and stuff like that. So one thing that you're gonna notice is like by the year 2018, I decided to change my signature. I used to sign everything like Gil, but then I went with RGC, and this is kind of funny, but basically like my mom started like looking at the work, and then she said like, wow, so I guess you're just Gil, right? Like you don't have my last name in the work. Like, who carries you around with name like that? Yeah, exactly. That's your dad, right? So I started like using the full name. It has a way to somehow pay tribute to that too. So then it came out because it's so long. So then it became that little thing. So you're gonna notice that changed too, especially here because those pieces are right there. Yeah. So that's basically what I did right there. It's funny that I didn't send you a color piece, huh?
Because you do some with that are the two color.
Yeah, like that one we did as chiaroscuro, which is similar to the process that we're doing today. That is giving us some trouble.
When we finish that print, I'll take it off and the light on it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I thought that it was going to be like really quick and we were gonna get it done, and I just made a mistake with the registration. So I guess we need to cut the block out. But that's part of the process of pre-making, right? Like there is all these challenges and all these things, and you get to fix them.
And sometimes the mistake ends up being a conversation point or
Exactly.
something that he actually like enhances the work.
That's true, yeah. And it keeps you kind of humble, like you don't really know everything. You use it to solve problems, and it's kind of fun. But yeah. Yeah, so that's basically what I do.
I have, so this is a more recent piece.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's an earlier work. This is done after you were at the boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Boot camp? That one there. Because it is interesting to see a difference in the mark making from since you had done that work. Because this one shares some of that same detail, and that too with the three-dimensionality of it. You said that you did, that one was on birch?
Yeah, this one is birch plywood.
And you normally work with
MDF.
MDF board. So how does the quality of the board affect the the mark that you're able to carve?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when you're doing, for example, NDF, I can get away and I can do curves like nothing, and that's something really fun to do. However, when you're working with birds, you're a little bit more somehow like dependent on the grain of the wood. So I mean, you need to plan ahead and try to like work with the grain, because if you go against the grain, you're gonna have a really hard time. So that way, like if you see right here, I don't really have a lot of curves, because you need to somehow do really tiny cuts at the same time and then connect them into making a longer line. As when I'm doing NDF, I can just go and pretty much cut the whole thing in one go. But one thing that the grain does, besides just, being a challenge, is also giving this beautiful texture that you cannot accomplish with NDF. Like right here, you have all that beautiful, like the quality of the mark is just amazing, but you cannot really get that in NDF. So I guess that's something that you give and take, right? Like whatever you would like to do at the end. But also these pieces right here hold the detail way better than the NDF. So for the NDF to do the same thing that this, I need to treat it with polyurethane and sand it down.
Surface quite a bit.
Exactly, yeah. I really need to work the surface as a way to like make it stronger, so I can go with tiny little dots and tiny little cuts. One other thing that I learned from this was that you really can control your ink, and you can actually use an X-Acto knife to make marks, and if you know how to ink it properly, you can get those marks out. And that was
Tiny.
that was mind-blowing for me. So yeah, if you see right here, like you can see some of those like lines from the telephone poles that are still present right there. And that was just a X-Acto knife there. And it was amazing to see these guys like working the ink in a way that you can get that out. Because right here, if you see, I don't really do a small marks. I try to like keep them consistency, because eventually it's a little bit easier to ink. But that was amazing. And it was great to see also like two people ink in a block at the same time, because they would go and kind of like be in a dance, like they're so in sync with each other. They're just like going around and inking and boom, 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 and it's like they're machines, And I was like, oh, like that's amazing. And also you don't need to ink it yourself, so they do it for you, which is great. While you're just sitting there, having fun. But,
Drinking beer and eating cereal.
exactly. Yeah, you're sipping and like, yeah, work hard. Yeah. But yeah, so those have been kind of like the experiences, and of course, like every time that I have I work and collaborate with other people, I get to learn and I get to acquire that and include it into my process. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like, for example, Micah did something today that I'm definitely going to do again, like taping the block on the top. I don't know why I never did that. And then Micah came and fixed it, and it's like super good, like no it works. So I'm definitely going to incorporate that later.
Just there's some things that you don't, the difference between people and how they do things, and you just pick up something a little bit from everybody.
Exactly, yeah, I'm problem solving, so yeah. Yeah, so you also have the opportunity to see here different types of paper. This is masa, this is where it's called like arches, no, this is the French paper, I think it's called. This one is muslin fabric. So this one you need to like apply water in the back in order to stretch it, and then like print on it. This one was printed using an asphalt roller instead of a press. The other ones were using presses. This one was printed in Matrix Press by the students from the University of Montana. So it was a group of 6 people printing. So we did 3 editions in 4 days. And we did the edition, was pretty much like 75 pieces in total, plus the ones that we messed up, right? So yeah, so it was probably like around 75 prints, and one of them was like 2 colors. And it was just a blast, like we were in the morning again, everybody inking together, rotating, everybody had a role, right? Like everybody cared. Someone carries the paper, someone moves the stain, someone like does the press, and yeah, I don't know, I have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, it's not for everybody, but it's
So come help print tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. Come and have some fun,
Reinaldo, did you mention, I don't know, the title of the show, or did you already talk about that? I may have missed it.
No, I haven't, and that's a really good question. So I noticed that there is a misspell right there, but it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. So the word in reality is Melao, which instead of A is an E, which is okay.
I saw it, okay.
No, it's fine. It was probably my fault. So the word Melao is a slang word for almíbar that we use in Venezuela. So almíbar, you basically use it as a way to preserve things, right? You use it to preserve fruits, to preserve stuff, but they're sweet. So somehow when you have memories, what you remember is like the sweetest moments of your life, or things that are really dramatic, right? So that's basically what I wanted to do. Somehow I use the process of relief printing as a way to preserve those good memories and somehow like keep them into a tangible piece of paper that later on can help me out to transform myself to those moments too. So that's where the name comes from. Yeah. And I apologize for making a mistake. That was probably
I
me.
do remember that I looked it up and I was like, it doesn't translate as anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's a slang word that we use in Venezuela. And also when someone dance really good and it has the flow, you call it, that person has melao. Yeah, but that's just something that we do back home. So. Anyway, but yeah, like when you do stuff at 2 in the morning, everything seems fine.
Oh.
Right? But anyway, so that's basically where the name comes from. I have to say thank you so much for like dealing with me all day. I appreciate it.
I love it. All day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we'd like to really thank you for coming to Minot State and working with Latino Press. And we had some tribulation with rescheduling, and we had to postpone from the spring. And with everything else going on, we're just happy that we can still be here and pull some prints.
Thank you so much. I have been looking forward to be here since like a year. I was really looking forward to it, and it's amazing to see what all of you have accomplished with the gallery. Definitely, I can see that you really care about the students, and it's amazing. Like you guys have a really nice set here, set of stuff like to accomplish really beautiful things with your work. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So
Thank
I
you.
think we're good. Thank you everybody for joining us online. We can still, if you have other questions. Thanks. I was going to say, ask Reinaldo if you have any other questions and talk about the work or.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to know a little bit about that.
Yeah,
I
sure.
know you had it in the lecture.
So I feel that, when I was teaching at Eastern Washington University, I had so many students like pretty much dropping out and doing tools. So I started talking to some of them, and they were talking about like all these expectations that they had in their minds that somehow were pulling them away from what they could do. And all this expectation was created by pretty much a system, right? Or their homes, or their parents. So I wanted to create like a piece that pretty much has this old house that is kind of like not really real, like kind of like, it doesn't really like architect, the floors are kind of like uneven, it's messed up, right? But it's like big and heavy, and it's somehow right there, but I wanted to make like the someone like just breaking free, flying away, just listening to music, somehow breaking the system. So that's basically the house. My wife and I were renting like the upper part, and this is where we're like, she was like watering the plants. So I basically stay there like and sketch it. But the idea was, like to make this messed up house that seems heavy and appears to be really big and strong. But at the same time, you see the squirrel is like bigger than it, somehow. So it's kind of like creating this idea that, like we create these things, Exactly, because I was just really concerned, I have like at least 18 students in 3 years, like putting dropping out into the site. And when they were telling me why, it was like, oh, social media and all these things. And
But I did a lot of
I don't know, it's concerns. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to do that. And there's another campus, yeah. But they did like emancipation, you know, like emancipation. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. Really, it's my most favorite parts of this. Here is the line.
Yeah, it's so rigid, it's so heavy outside.
Yeah, I went to, and this right here, I knew that I needed to have a flag because you have so much right here.
You know, when it separates really nice.
Exactly. Yeah, to do like a transition. So yeah, and that was something that I learned when I got yeah. You need to protect the dark spots in your pieces in order to really give that graphic quality.
Yeah, have that contrast.
Exactly. Which is so amazing about the piece. Yeah, so that's basically what there's a light coming from the back, and the person is standing at the line. Yeah, I noticed that, you know, this piece, like, it seems kind of realistic, all this, but then the character seems like cartoon. So I didn't notice that until later. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, so yeah, chronologically, I did that one first, then I did that one. These two are pretty much at the same time.
So when are you gonna move to like New York or something and work in a big, huge art gallery?
I don't know if I could do New York.